my God, there's so many people here. This is crazy. Hi. Hi, everyone. Oh, hey, get up. Hold on. I'm not wearing Spanx. Okay, hold on. Okay, I wish I were. Hi, BroadwayCon. I'm so impressed you guys all showed up. This is amazing. What's up? Okay, so thank you so much for coming. Thanks for being Broadway fans. They say Broadway is dead. They can shove it. This is an hour panel with some of the stars of the upcoming musical Disaster. You guys, you've heard of it. My name is Seth, and if you don't know, Disaster starts previews February 9th at the Needlelander. We open March 8th, and this is our day off, and so it just worked out perfectly that everyone was actually free to do this. So let me call up the cast one by one. First, playing the nerdy best friend, Scott, from the Grease reality show, You're the One That I Want. Anyone obsessed with that like I was? Max Crumm! Maxie! So Max should come up. By the way, Max was busted for being dressed so casually, but actually he had his own reason for that. Max, why are you in this inappropriate outfit?
Because I'm dressed as Mark from Rent.
Okay, sit down. It's such a lot.
Because I basically now am Mark from Rent, because I'm playing best friends with Adam Pascal at the Nederlander. And we will be doing Rent.
100%. Sit down. Are you texting? Okay, oh my God, okay, so brilliant, off-Broadway. She was Drama Desk nominated for this role and Drama League nominated. She's made the transition from off-Broadway to Broadway in this part. She plays the nun with the gambling addiction, the brilliant Jennifer Simard, dressed as a nun in full black. That's her signature in the show. That's hilarious. That wasn't planned. All right, it actually wasn't. All right, sit the hell down. Oh, who's next? Oh my God, okay, so my best friend, co-writer, director, Jack Plotnick. Come on up, Jackie. Still wearing his tag in case they don't allow him in. Who the hell's next? Oh, dressed in full 70s fur with a hat, kind of like a Barbra Streisand album cover, I'm obsessed. The brilliant from Xanadu, Kerry Butler. Look at that outfit. Adorable. Okay, I first met her putting it together off-Broadway with Julie Andrews and Victor Victoria. Could not be more brilliantly triple-threaded. Literally, such a brilliant triple threat and stunning. The amazing Rachel York! Look at the stunningness. Look at the stunningness. Hi, Rachel. I have a cold. All right, sit over there. Just got her sick. Oh my God. Okay, why don't I bring up the couple at the same time, since they play loving married couple. You know him as Bertram from Jesse. You know her as Adelaide from Guys and Dolls. Kevin Chamberlin and Faith Prince. Look how cute. Take back your mink. Bertram. Okay, I'm gonna walk around and talk to everybody. Okay, Faith, you look amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna start. So this is going to be like I don't know if you ever watched my videos, I have these things called Obsessed on Playboy. So this is kind of like a lengthy, you guys, this is like a lengthy version of Obsessed. So I'm going to start with Faith, who plays in Disaster. She plays Shirley. I know, nervous. I know these chairs, right? She plays Shirley, who's this older lady who has a secret, which you find out mid-Act 1, and it's basically the role in the show that has kind of the most to do, triple threat-wise, because she has to do this big tap dance in Act 2. I don't want to give it away. But let's just go back for a second. Faith, why don't you just tell everybody something you told me years ago about how you went to go see your friend Jimmy Walton. You guys know Jimmy Walton from Merrily Roll Along, the original Franklin Shepherd Inc. You went to go see him in Scrambled Feet. Why don't you talk about seeing that show? Oh, hold on.
Hello, testing. Yes.
Okay. Go.
Yes, it was my first 3 weeks in New York, and my friend Jimmy was playing the understudy of Scrambled Feet, which was at the Village Gate. Did anybody remember the Village
Gate? Everybody here is 15 years old. Nobody knows Village Gate. It's all good. It's all good. Continue.
It's now a CVS pharmacy. But in those days, it had 3 poles on the stage, and you had to do something on one side of the pole and one side. Anyways, I went to see Scrambled Feet with my mother.
Which is kind of like a Forbidden Broadway before Forbidden Broadway.
That's right. And I sat there at intermission. My mother leaned over to me and she said, "You'd be great in this show." It had 1 woman, 3 men, a piano, and a duck.
For real, there's actually a duck in the show.
And my mom is not Mama Rose at all. So she's very quiet. So when she said that, I was like, I spent the whole second act going, you know, she's right. I mean, I was like 10 years younger than this woman, but it was like blackout sketches and it was funny and I could play the piano. So they all were talking to a group afterwards, and of course I was going to wait for Jimmy, and I don't know what possessed me. I raised my hand, and one of the guys in the show who'd written it, actually, that was in the show, and he said, yes, do you have a question? And I said, yes, do you need another girl? And he said, do you play the piano? And I said, yes, I do. I did. He said, do you sing? And I said, yes. And he said, well, why don't you meet with our stage manager and we will get you an audition. We're actually looking for somebody to replace the girl in Boston. They had it running. And so I met with her, got my audition, and that was my first job in New York City.
It takes chutzpah, people. It takes chutzpah. Even though she's not Jewish, she pronounces it gumption.
Absolutely.
Okay, but just for 2 seconds, because when you say it had a duck, it does sound bizarre. Was the duck trained? What did the duck actually do?
No,
I saw
actually there were 2 ducks, Hermione and Fred. I preferred Fred, but Fred was the understudy duck. But I had to work with the duck every day, and it was this great number about how you never go on stage with children or animals, right? So we had to work with the duck, and you just sort of had to walk, 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 scoop, walk, 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 scoop. And I thought, I was the most nervous about it. So opening night, the duck made a beeline. I had a tulip gown for my hemline, reached underneath my gown, bit the inside of my thigh, and I slung the duck. And went off the stage in full 6 feet wingspan. I'm not kidding you. And so instead of me picking up the duck, I was going, could somebody get the duck? Please, could somebody get... It was like bedlam. And of course, the producer had never laid eyes on me. This was my very first show. And so I went to my dressing room. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be fired. I'm going to be fired. It's my first big slip at my first show. He comes in, he goes, Faith Prince? And I go, yes. He goes, that was the funniest thing I have ever seen. Could you do that every night? So I ended up chasing the duck, and then the duck chased me, and then the guys would help me. Sort of
Did you ever throw it off the stage again?
No.
Where is that duck
It was 2. Dead.
Okay, let's just forget the end of that story. Okay, so there's one more thing I want Faith to talk about, which I think is also very inspiring for people out there, because I think a lot of us, when we audition for stuff, especially if you watch those reality shows, I did that Legally Blonde reality show, and they... I have issues with it. My point is, I mean, it was fine, but they would make these girls, because they wanted to build tension, they'd be like, this is my last chance. If I don't get this, and it was all this thing, like, we have this theory that if we don't get this one particular role, like, that's it for our career, and it's beyond not true. So I want Faith to talk about the audition you had in the 80s for a little off-Broadway musical.
I got sent this wonderful script, and it was a brand new musical, which, as you know, doesn't happen very often. And I read it, and I went, oh my God, this is it. This is my role. This is my role. Well, it turns out Howard Ashman, Alan Menken thought so too. And it was based on a cult horror B-movie. And nobody had ever done it before, and it was at the WPA, and so they actually...
Little tiny theater.
That's right, teeny, off Broadway. And so I was so excited, and I got the part. The only problem was I had already a job, an industrial, which, do they still have industrials? I think they do.
Industrials are like Metamucil will hire you, and you like go to like, Puerto Rico, and you're like, Metamucil, I just took a pill, Metamucil, and you're like singing for all the Metamucil people, and they're like, that's amazing.
Exactly.
And it's these 2-week gigs, and you get paid a lot of money, but they're kind of
That's right.
stupid.
And honestly, it was the most money I'd ever made to date. It was for IBM, Big Blue, you know, we all sang Big Blue, you know. So anyways, I went in because I had a contract, and it said I could only get out for a Broadway show, which at that time was 3 networks. Imagine that. Only 3 networks.
You mean
pilot for
a TV show.
TV show, right. They only had 3 networks, or a Broadway show, which of course this wasn't. So I went into the head of the entertainment division and got on my hands and knees and begged him, and I said, please sir, I know you can get somebody for this job. I said, but because I said, I've been cast in this amazing thing. I said, it's about a man-eating plant who sings, feed me. And of course, he looked at me like I had, you know, 3 eyes, and just said, absolutely not, it's your contract, this is what you have to do. So later that year, Ellen Green got the drama desk, and a beautiful, it's okay.
No, she has an amazing attitude about it.
I really did. And it's funny because I was working up at Goodspeed when all this happened, and Hirschfeld was in the,
Hirschfeld was in the news.
Yeah,
Oh,
New York Times. Yeah, and everybody was like whispering in the other room, don't tell Faith, don't tell Faith. And I walked down and I said, please. I said, this is her time. I said, someday it'll be my time. And probably if I'd gotten Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors, I probably wouldn't have been Adelaide. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
because the roles
they're similar. Do you know what I mean? It would just have been too sort of on the nose.
But is that you looking back 20 years later going, I realized how it worked out, or were you really thinking that in the 80s, like, it's all good?
Well, my name is Faith.
That's so great. I love that.
It's true. I mean, I have to have that in my sort of system.
What Faith told me, what I do know is that after Ellen left, there were a lot of people that played the part. Were you, at least, you replaced her at some point, right? Off Broadway?
I went in right behind Ellen for both the New York and LA companies.
Oh, so you did get to play the part anyway?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we were talking at rehearsal. I thought it's so cool because she didn't get to do an original cast album. I thought we'd haul out a song from the show for y'all. So this is, okay, I have a crazy
And
cold.
of course, Miss Kerry Butler.
Oh, Kerry Butler did the Broadway version.
Right?
Okay, so hold on. I kind of wrote down the chords when I was backstage at BroadwayCon. Here they are. Okay, hold on. We'll edit out this cross when the video goes on. I guess come over to the piano.
Okay. Should I get this out of the way?
Yeah, I guess
Okay,
so.
because we're going to have to sort of be together. Thank you.
I'm going to use this mic. Is it kind of okay? Hello?
Yeah. Do I use this one?
I guess you use yours, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so just imagine me as a kind of a Jewish nerd.
Imagine that.
Let's see if I can remember this. Lift up your head, wipe off that mascara. Here, take my Kleenex, wipe that lipstick away. Show me your face as clean as the morning. I know things were bad, but now they're okay. 'Cause suddenly Seymour is standing beside you. You don't need no makeup, don't have to pretend. Suddenly Seymour is here to provide you with sweet understanding. Seymour's your friend.
Nobody ever treated me kindly. Daddy left early and Mama was poor. I'd meet a man and I'd follow him blindly. He'd snap his fingers and me, I'd say, sure. Suddenly Seymour is standing beside me. He don't give me orders. He don't condescend. Suddenly Seymour is here to provide me with sweet understanding. Seymour's my friend.
Tell me the bad times are clean washed away.
Please understand that it's still strange and frightening for losers like I've been. It's so hard to say. Suddenly Seymour, he purified me.
Purified you.
Suddenly Seymour showed me I can be more. The girl that's inside me with sweet understanding. With sweet understanding. With sweet understanding. Seymour's my
the final thing that Faith and I will say is that one of the reasons why we have been very happy working in the business and we're not particularly stressed out people is because Faith and I spent 10 full years together every Monday in
Group therapy.
That's where Faith and I met,
That's where we
literally
met.
in group therapy, no joke, right before she got Adelaide. So I was with her through all the ups and the downs and the Tony Award.
And that's why I say, if you share your feelings, you too could get a Broadway show.
Bravo. Okay, so many things to talk about. Let me look at my little list. Okay, so next up, my friend Rachel York. So here's the lovely Rachel York. So, Rachel plays in the show, in Disaster, she plays Jackie, who's this beautiful lounge singer, kind of a little Audrey-ish, with terrible, terrible taste in men. She's obsessed with the evil owner of, Disaster's about this casino that's floating in the New York Hudson, but it happens to be drilled into a fault line. So she plays the girlfriend of this guy that refuses to acknowledge that like an earthquake is imminent. And she's this sexy lounge singer, and hopefully she realizes that she's making bad choices by the end of the show. Spoiler alert. Anyway, the point is, Rachel and I first met during putting it together, and then Victor Victoria. But I want Rachel, she told me this one story that I'm so obsessed with, also about first moving to New York. So talk about when you wanted to get some money.
All right, so, I moved to New York shortly after graduating high school, and I was very ambitious and very courageous. But when I, landed in New York, a bunch of things went wrong. It's just seeing the homelessness, and you're just out of high school, you're trying to find who you are, much less compete as an actress in such a fierce competitive market. And I got very negative and started having dreams about like homeless people coming in through my air conditioning. And the air conditioning had to be taken out because it was broken, and so there was just like this cardboard between me and the outside world when I was sleeping at night in this small little studio apartment. And I would have dreams that this man would come in through the hole in my apartment. Anyway, my mom came to see me and saw the sort of the state that I was in, and she taught me to meditate and do yoga and to do creative visualization. So I kind of spent, I had no other choice. I mean, I was trying to work part-time and audition and everything, and so I started doing creative visualization like all the time and submerging my mind with positive information. And soon after that, I created a job in Monte Carlo as a singer at the Casino de Paris. And after I did that gig, it was beautiful, it was paradise, and I came back, and it was several months later that I ended up, I didn't have enough money for my rent and for several expenses, and I basically needed $7,000. And I needed that $7,000 actually I said Friday. It was Monday. I really needed this $7,000. My parents were in dire straits. They didn't have any money. There was nowhere I could go to get this $7,000. And I thought, okay, well, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to do some creative visualization. So every day I visualized that $7,000 in my bank account, any way I could possibly visualize it. And anyway, we get to Friday, nothing, no job,
and
no
that's
nothing.
the end of the story. Can you imagine? The most depressing.
I thought, well, okay, I really don't need it till Monday. So I kept saying, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. I kept seeing it, Saturday, nothing. Finally, Sunday morning, I get a call from France. And it was a gentleman that I met there who was a producer, and he said, we're working on this new rock album. It's going to be Euro rock with one American singer and one French singer. And we'd like you to come out and do this. And I was like, well, I can do it on one condition. I will have to have $7,000 wired into my account by Monday morning. And he said, okay, well, let me talk to the other producer and I'll see what I can do. He calls back, he said, okay, it's done.
Isn't that amazing? It's the most like specific number. I'm obsessed with that. Okay, so like I said, I met Rachel during Victor Victoria, and just talk for a second, because a lot of times stars in shows are sort of like standoffish and dressing room door closed, and Julie Andrews has this reputation for being super nice. So was she actually super nice to you? Like
she's wonderful. She was my second mom. She was like the doctor of both of the productions that I did. She's exactly the way you would hope she would be.
Would she ever be like, she was doing 8 shows a week, you know, as opposed to Christine Dyer, only 6. So the point is, don't get me started, but Julie Andrews, in her mid-50s, was able to do 8 shows a week. Was she ever like, Rachel, I'm not going out tonight, I'm exhausted?
She's like, yeah, when we shared a dressing room and putting it together. And there were days when she'd be like, "Oh, Rachel, I just don't think I can do it tonight."
She's amazing doing imitations.
And I know I'd go, "Julie, am I gonna have to sing that song?"
Oh, she would also imitate her to be
Rachel,
okay, sorry.
please don't do it, don't do it. And I have a terrible cold right now, so I have no idea what's gonna come out of my mouth. But anyway, I go, "Oh, it's a jolly holiday with Julie." Oh, Rachel, please don't. Julie makes your heart so light. Oh, honestly, Rachel, when the day is gray and ordinary, oh dear God, Julie makes the sun shine bright. Oh, fuck it, all right, I'll do the show.
So accurate. Okay, so I want to tell this. Yeah, I'll tell it. So I mentioned this story at this press event that we did this week about how like Rachel was responsible for one of my most mortifying things that ever happened to me at the gym. But I want to just show you the evidence of it. So this is when Rachel did Victor Victoria, and she played this character Norma, who's this complete no talent. Okay, she was brilliant, and basically also Norma's kind of obsessed with Victoria and her fame. So you know the end of Le Jazz Hot. Julie does that whole slide. So Norma would appropriate that into her song during Act 2. So my question is, was that always in the script? I was only in the pit, so I don't know, but who came up with your horrible version of the slide up to the high note? Because Norma's version is so bad, she has to break
I think it was
4
me.
times.
I think it was me, because it was, anyway.
It's so amazing. So she tries to imitate Julie Anderson, like she just keeps cracking and like has to breathe every 4 measures. So I want you to watch. First of all, I want you to watch Rachel's amazing dancing. Watch this one dance number because it has to do with me being embarrassed. But then also watch Rachel's horrible slide up to the high note and how totally unenjoyable it is. I'm obsessed with it. Okay, hit the Victor Victoria clip. This is the bootleg. Sorry. So I used to play auditions a lot for rehearsals for Victor Victoria, and I learned that dance. When they say hey, I'm from Shy. Okay, obsessed. So Joe Falcon was the conductor. He was the associate conductor, and you may know Joe. He wrote Was. He wrote Harold and Maude. He's a great composer. But back then he was just conducting. But whenever I'd see Joe, we were really good friends. I'd always go into the dance just to make him laugh and be like, Joe, when? Anyway, so cut to, we both went to the World Gym. The World Gym was this gym by Lincoln Center that no longer exists, but we would always be at the World Gym together. So I saw him on the treadmill. So of course I ran right in front of him, and I'm like, Joe, when? They say, hey. And it wasn't him. It was devastating. It was a person running. And I was like, hey! Devastating. Okay, where was I? Those are the days. All right, Kevin Chamberlin. So Kevin in the show plays Shirley's loving husband, Maury. Do you have a microphone? You have a microphone. Kevin and I, we can't really remember when we met. We met doing, that's the whole, by the way, if you don't know, the really cool thing about this show is that I read this amazing book, which you all should read. It's so inspiring. It's called Horrors of Lost Atlantis by Charles Busch. And it's about him writing, by the way, completely winded from 4 measures of dancing. Cannot breathe.
They wrote Horrors of Lost Atlantis. It's
it's Horrors of Lost Atlantis on the teleprompter. It's about how he wrote Vampire Lesbians of Sodom.
There it is.
Thank you, Horrors. It's like Siri. Siri, what's my name? Whore. Anyway, that's your phone? What was that? It's about how Charles Bush wrote Vampire Lesbians of Sodom and how... Anywho. About how... Oh, anyho, I get it. Very funny, Siri. Anyway, how he wrote this play basically featuring all of his friends, and he wrote it like in 2 weeks to be a show that all of his friends could be in, and that's basically what Disaster is for me and Jack, who I wrote it with. We just wanted to put all of our friends on Broadway, and we creatively visualized it, Rachel York style, and it actually happened. So I've known Kevin forever. We can't really remember when we met, but on Broadway we did The Ritz together, and we did Seussical together. You know, he was Horton the Elephant. But we also realized that we both made our Broadway musical debut together, because my first show was subbing for Joe Thalkin. Joe, in My Favorite Year, which was also your Broadway debut, right?
It was, yeah.
Ensemble.
In 1992, we did a workshop, and then 1993 was the actual performance. It was in the chorus of it was the amazing character actors that are now all working on Broadway. Michael McGraw was in the chorus. Alan Maroka, who's on Sesame Street. Rob Ashford, who's now a director.
Katie Finneran.
Katie Finneran, yeah. Yes, it was an amazing group, and Lainey Kazan, who actually plays my mother on Jessie.
Hey, Lainey.
Yeah, so everything sort of comes around. And when I did that show, Steve Flaherty and Lynn Ahrens remembered me and wrote Horton with me in mind for Seussical.
Oh, I didn't know
So when
that.
you start out in the chorus, you know, you can actually be remembered.
You just remind me of something you did at Lincoln Center with Abe Lincoln
in Illinois.
First of all, I would say it's like the most boring title in the world, because Abe Lincoln, I'm already totally not interested in Illinois. I'm now asleep. But regardless, it's not the worst time.
And it was 3 hours and 35 minutes. And it had a cast of 50. I was on at 20 after 8 and 20 after 11. So I had 3 hours, and there was a couple nights where I had friends doing shows down at like Don't Tell Mama or Marie's Crisis, and I would sneak out and leave the theater and take a train down, see a show at Marie's Crisis, and then make it back with an hour to spare.
That is crazy. Okay, so, you know, we're talking about, I'm trying to give these young kids lessons about, you know, having hope, and one of the other things is sort of the whole show must go on idea, which is sort of what BroadwayCon is, because everyone thought it was going to be canceled because of the blizzard, but the show went on, people. And that's just so great. You guys showed up and everyone showed up. So talk about doing Seussical when you got sick.
Seussical was pretty easy show. I mean, Horton's pushed around on a ladder for most of it, and but I did have some dancing, and for some reason I got a kidney stone, and the understudy was not around. My understudy, who was Casey Nicola, the director, he was on vacation, and so I had to push through, literally, and I was chugging water through the whole show. And at intermission, this is a little graphic. The kids can leave the room if you want. But I went to the bathroom and I felt the stone coming out, but then it didn't come all the way out.
You know when it comes out through people, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it was about 3 inches from the end. So I had to do the whole second act with it stuck there, and I was literally doing the whole thing like this.
Did you ever think of like just being like, I can't do the second act?
No, the show must go on. Right?
It's a great attitude. So, for a second, just talk about Disaster, because you left New York for LA and you've been on Jessie for all these years. What made you decide that you want to do Disaster on Broadway?
I don't want to work with children anymore.
He's kidding. It was actually a child in disaster, so that didn't work out.
No, I loved doing Jesse. It was the best job I've ever had, but I missed the Broadway community, and I missed... these last 3 weeks in the rehearsal room have been the happiest times I've had in a long time. And to work on something for more, you know, in TV, you get the script and then you shoot it the next day, and there's no time to really work and develop a character. And so this has been pure joy for me, and working with Faith and all these, everyone I've known from other jobs and in the community. And that's the thing, you have a community here, and this really moves me, seeing everyone here today. This has never existed. Seth and I were talking, we wish this had existed when we grew up in the Broadway community.
No, there was never a panel like when we were growing up with, like, you know, Betty Buckley, Pat Point, Bernadette Peters. Like, I would have died if that ever existed. This is so great. Whoever thought of BroadwayCon, bravo.
Yeah, bravo.
Amazing idea. Melissa? Still got it. Okay, it's an amazing idea. So we're gonna sort of experiment. Kevin Chamberlin, did you guys see Addams Family? Yeah. So tell the kids what you manipulated, what you put into the reading.
Andrew Lippa, I was learning the song "Moon and Me." Do you know that song? And the very end of it, do you remember it, Seth?
You mean the last note?
Yeah.
The chords?
Yeah, it's like a little and then the last note written in the score was a G, which
by the way, Kevin also plays the piano, which is annoying.
So that's what, and then he goes, and I was like, you know what, I think it sounds better if I actually go up to the tonic, to the C. And they're like, you can't do that. I said, well, yes, I can, and probably no other actor can do it to replace me. So if I get it into the score that anyone who plays Fester has to hit a high C, I know I can't be replaced. And this was in the workshop. We were doing workshops and readings, and sometimes people, after they do a workshop, they get replaced by another person, a name or something. That's happened to me. And so
he manipulated and put the C in so that he could continue to have the job up until Broadway, and it worked out, and Tony nomination.
Yes.
So because that's sort of his signature, because his high note is his signature, I decided for the Addams Family fans in the audience, we're going to add a signature high note to Disaster. So normally it goes, I'm still the one who can scratch my itch, still the one, and I wouldn't switch. But we added a crazy high note for Kevin. So let's just try to do off the cuff. I'll do from you above R. So it's good. 1, 2, 3, 4. You
are still the one that makes my itch, still the one, and I wouldn't switch.
Yes.
I still haven't done.
So crazy. You still got it. And the blocking is Faith grabs his ass at that moment, and that's what makes the note go up, so it's all good. Okay, so now I'm up to the amazing Jennifer Simard. Hey, Jennifer! Okay, so Jennifer and I have known each other for a super long time, and remember how I said Faith and I were in group therapy together for 10 years? We were in group therapy with this therapist named Gail Appel, who, by the way, is also Jennifer's therapist. So there's kind of like a Scientology vibe to this show, that we're all kind of weirdly connected, but it's all good. All right, so Simard, talk to me for a second. As far as I know, your first big job was Forbidden Broadway?
Yeah, I moved to the city. It was one of those experiences, sort of to tag on to what was referenced earlier, where like Faith's story, I was visiting friends in New York City. I was doing Nonsense in Boston. I'm from New England originally. And a friend of mine said, you know, Gerard Alessandrini is having a cattle call audition, because they like to do that periodically for new talent for future productions. And I said, okay, I'll work on some impressions. I was still living in New Hampshire, commuting to Boston. I came in, I auditioned at Theater East, that's where the show was at the time, and I got a call from my basement in my parents' house telling me, how would you like to be in Forbidden Broadway?
One audition?
One audition.
What did you have to, because that to me is such a scary audition. You know, I don't even know, but in the old days for Cats, you'd have to step forward and do like a double pirouette. Like, what was kind of the rule for like the Forbidden Broadway audition? You had to come in and do what?
I had to do a few impressions, and then they would throw certain celebrities at me. In fact, the first year I did it, that summer, Guys and Dolls was on Broadway, so we had a number that was also about faith. So you can imagine that my mind is blown right now that we get to work together. It's full circle. It's amazing.
Was that where instead of Sue Me, it was about the scenery?
I just heard, yeah, it was Sue me, what can you do me? But it was poor Nathan. It was a little bit teasing him. It said, I see scenery and chew it, that's how I do it, it. Which was not very nice. But they were very nice to Faith, and at the end she was like, I'm off to do my sitcom. And you went, yeah, because it was just, she was a star.
How did you know that you could do Bernadette Peters so well? Did you know that when you were younger?
I would never say I'm as lovely as Miss Peters, but I think because maybe my mouth, I sort of resemble her a little bit down here. So it's, I think you, as a child, you look up to people that there's a possibility you could be like them. So I think I always looked up to her. So
what's the secret to doing her?
Well, my secret was you put a little tissue paper in here, and you always want to have a cupid doll mouth when you talk, and it's very, very small and very closed, and so yeah. So.
Can you sing anything as Bernadette?
Oh my gosh.
What was your song? Instead of Time Heals Everything, it was about her crying?
It was that, and then it was...
also about, instead of, what is it, what's that song from Song and Dance? Tell Me on a Sunday, instead of Tell Me on a Sunday.
That was that, but then it was later, I did the one from Gypsy at the end, Rose's Turn.
Oh, and how did you introduce it? Does anyone want to hear?
Yeah, and it was... it was like, curtain of life of lights, la la, I'm so much.
The placement is so amazing. So like I said, me, Jennifer, and Jack were working together literally since the early 90s on comedy, on this comedy show that was called An Evening with Joyce DeWitt, which was hilarious. And I'm obsessed with Jennifer. Has this crazy range where she can basically belt anything or sing anything soprano-wise. So we added this one crazy high note to the end of Sky High that Jennifer sings in Disaster. So we don't even really have the ensemble here, but we'll try to do it for you. It may sound crazy because half the people aren't even in the number. But will you guys just sing from, I guess from the Why Did You Lie? God, do I even know the chords for this? I think the second one. So Jennifer could just get to her high note. So we would do,
random.
Why did you lie? Why did you lie? You blown it all the time. Da, 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 da. Okay, do we know it?
Yeah.
So you blown. So men are on that, and women are on why.
Okay.
5, 6. So I'm gonna go 1, 2. You blown, and you go 1, why? Okay. We didn't really prepare. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1.
Full soprano auditioning for the Met. Okay.
Okay, so finally we ask, so what do you love about playing, she plays Sister Mary Downey, who's this nun struggling, do you guys see it? Okay, it's on front.
Yeah.
So she's really basically this nun struggling with being a nun who follows these crazy doctrines of her religion really because she's actually a gambling addict and she's in a casino, so it doesn't really work out for her. But what do you enjoy about playing the part?
Props to you and Jack. It's, to date, the best written role I've ever gotten to play. So thank you very much. Yeah, and I have some great writers, including many great people. But I love her because my favorite thing about human beings and characters are the dark, nougaty, center, chewy bits that we hate about ourselves. I love to try to love things about people that you find unlovable. And this character has so many problems and so many things wrong with her. And she is one of those people that you're like, what happened to you? And that's what I love. I love to find the humanity. Faith and I talked about that. Humor and pathos. And if you can marry those two, It's the most, I'm getting chills talking about it. It's the most exciting thing to me to create that kind of art, whether it's a drama or comedy. You have both. I guarantee you, in the straightest of plays and the most farcical of plays, you find the honesty and you find that nougaty center and you're gold. And so I love this character.
It's funny because Faye, talk about when we first offered you the role, when you took us out to dinner and you were like, here's my issue. Go.
Well, I just said, because, you know, a lot of comedies, it's funny, and I just wanted to make sure that the humanity was there, and you said that's exactly what we're going for. Because, I mean, like, I've seen productions of, like, Ruthless or heightened things, but if you don't have the humanity with the outrageous, it's always got to be rooted in something, and every person in this cast has such, the stakes are so high. So you're still getting the feeling of the disaster, but you're also feeling like how everybody comes together in a moment like that, even though there's this outrageous comic sort of tone to it. And I just wanted to make sure of that because, you know, that's where it's at.
She's like, I don't want to just go for the comedy. Because it's very much like, I don't know, you kids maybe, you don't even watch I Love Lucy, but in I Love Lucy, like, Lucille Ball really was in those situations. And that's why that comedy was so brilliant. Because she really did get a loving cup stuck in her head. And she was like, how do I get it off? She wasn't like, I'm wacky. And that's the whole, to me, key of real comedy is like making it completely real. And our director, Jack, is like obsessed with getting that. Okay, wait, I want to now talk to Max a lot. So, Max Crumm, Max Crumm I got this job on Playbill, it's sponsoring BroadwayCon, to write a recap of the Grease reality show. So talk to me, so that wasn't fake.
Some of you out there, huh?
So talk to me about, how did you get that gig? Did you have an agent then that sent you in for it?
Oh my gosh, no. Actually, Laura Osnes and I were the only two, other than Ashley Spencer, who's now married to Jeremy Jordan, if you
yes, she's great singer.
We were the only 3 people who auditioned free of agents on our own accord. So everyone else competing was from an agent appointment.
But literally both you and Laura, who literally got it, were the only ones that weren't sent in. And how did you even know about it? Was it not the local penny saver?
Well, no, I was...
You know what I mean? Like,
yes, I was outside getting my milk jugs. And I was taking a shower and my roommate at the time saw a commercial for it and was like, hey, you should go audition for that. There's a reality show. They're going to find Grease, the winners for Grease on Broadway. And I was like, no, I have a callback for CSI or something. It was my first callback because I lived in LA. And so I had a callback, and then I went out with friends that night, and I came home, and I couldn't really sleep, and I kept thinking about it. So instead of go to sleep, I looked it up online. I thought, when is that thing? And it was in like a couple of hours. It was the next day. And I thought, and then a voice in the back of my head was like, go, just go. So I went and got 2 Red Bulls and drove and stood in line.
You didn't sleep?
No, and it's funny, if you watch the show, if you were watched, it's the way they sort of introduce me is so funny because they're like, and then there's Max Crumm, blah, 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 and everybody's so excited in the line, and I'm just sitting like this. Like half asleep because I was like, oh God. And then it was like hours later before we actually sang on camera, and then that whole show was just crazy.
Okay, so I want to talk to you more about it because I'm actually going to show something, but let me for 2 seconds talk to Jack. So this is my really good friend Jack, and we wrote the show together, and I'd love for you, yes?
Did you drive from LA to New York for the audition? I'm confused.
No, I drove from
LA,
Studio City to Venice Beach, which is kind of like...
It's okay, does this work? Oh, hi, okay.
Okay, so this also to me is a very good lesson. Thank you, Jack.
Is that bothering anyone else?
But why should you take the entire show to say something? Why take 45 minutes to say something? This is also a good lesson about, you know, I think we all like kind of work with our friends throughout our careers from college and stuff, and it's really nice to know that you could actually work with your friends and actually create something commercial, which is what me and Jack did, because we've been friends since we met doing this off-Broadway show called Pageant back in the early 90s, 1991, I guess, when we both kind of basically got out of college. So talk about how you were the ADD to you were the yin to my yang of my ADD about this show. Actually, I'll give 2 seconds on it. Sorry. So I first got this idea to write this show in the 90s, and like 20 years passed to write Disaster. And then I was doing these benefits all the time for Only Make Believe, which is this really great charity that Dina Hammerstein started, where they bring theater to hospitalized children. And she was like, she's British, she's like, can you do another benefit for us? And I said, I've got this idea to write this musical about disasters, and if you give me a date, it'll force me to write the show. Instead of for 20 years, I'd be with my husband, he'd be like, you've got to write it. I'm like, I know. So I was like, if I have this actual date, it'll force me to write it, like Charles Busch did with Horse of Lost Atlantis. He got this theater to do Vampire Lesbians, and it forced him to write it. So I told
That's the secret to creating, is set a date, just say, I'm doing it this weekend, and you'll have to do it. But so I met Seth in Palm Springs.
In Palm Springs, yeah. I was doing the benefit out there.
And he told me about the idea for the show, which I thought was brilliant, like a disaster music with every disaster that could happen.
Earthquakes, tidal waves, sharks.
And we were I remember we were sitting by the pool, and I said, so it's in a month. It said, wow. And I said, how much have you written? He goes, none.
I had ideas, though, but I hadn't actually written anything.
So I literally, in that moment, I just pulled out his laptop, opened it up, and typed, exterior, pier, Chad arrives, and sings...
As Pascal.
Yeah, and sings hot... It was just like... And it just freed something in Seth. Like, he just needed somebody to start typing.
Like, I saw it, and I was like, wow, this could really exist. And then we just basically wrote it over the phone. That's the thing, too, for years, Jack and I wanted to write together, and he'd be like, but I'm in LA. Like, there were, like phones didn't exist. Wait, do you hear the phlegm? Hold on. Everyone in the cast has a cold. So we basically wrote it over the phone. But before I talk more about disaster, I also want to, because I want to inspire these young people, talk for a second, because this is my favorite thing about Space Station and about, Space Station 76 is this film that Jack wrote and directed with all these like mega stars, Matt Bomer and Patrick Wilson and Liv Tyler, and just talk about when they were like, we're not giving you the money, because I think it's so inspiring when some people say that to you.
Well, yeah, to get that movie made or anything creative, you just have to keep knowing it'll happen. You just have to say, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And there was a moment where my producer and I, we didn't have the money to film this movie, and we were supposed to start filming in a week. And we didn't have the money, but we built the set. Point is, when we just said to each other, let's just pretend it's happening. We just have to commit to this is happening, and then it'll happen. And then it did, because you have to get the train going. Nobody wants to like get on a train that's just sitting in the station. But once a train is going and you say, hey, I'm filming something in Central Park tomorrow, you guys want to show up at 1? People are like, yeah. But if you're like, do you guys want to make a short film? And everyone's like, I don't think so. Just make it.
So, okay, so Jack and I are constantly, Jack and I are just always walking down the street, just like almost start improvising a bit. So we thought we'd just recreate one of our really stupid bits. Should we do, which one? I guess, you want to do Turkey Lurkey? Yeah, I guess, yeah, sure. Okay, this is the kind of stuff we do all the time, and like, anyway, this is basically
this is our stupid sense of humor.
Yeah, because we had a long-running comedy show at Caroline's, and this is basically how we write our stuff. We were just starting improvising, so this is one of our stupid things.
We're weird and stupid. So I'm like I'm a director of a Broadway show, and I've got my cast. I'm like, okay, everybody, let's do the number 6, 7, 8.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle bells.
Sorry, stop. Could you stop? Everybody, please. I'm hearing something weird. I was like, can we do that again? 6, 7, 8.
Jingle bells, jingle bells.
Okay, yeah, okay, I'm definitely hearing something weird. I don't know who... Okay, you know what, let's just do this. Let's just have you sing it one at a time. Okay, you sir, would you sing it?
Jingle bells, jingle bells.
That's not, okay.
Jingle bells.
Yeah, that's good. Miss, could you sing it?
Jingle bells, jingle bells.
Okay, yeah, cut. Okay, now you?
Jingle bells, jingle bells.
Okay, yeah, okay, It's bells.
Bells.
No, bells. So it's a simple F.
Bell.
Okay, no.
Am I making you want me to mix it?
You know what? Okay, I actually have an idea. You know what? Because I'm getting a lot of the word bells from the chorus. How about if you listen? Everybody sing Jingle Bells, and then you just sing Jingle, and I think that'll have the right levels. Okay, so ready? Everybody, good. And 6, 7, 8.
Jangle, jangle, jangle. Okay, that's it.
It makes us look overdue.
That's how we walk down the street. All right. So one more thing with Max. So I was obsessed with that Grease reality show, and I was obsessed with Max's vibrato on the word chills. Do you guys remember? I got chilled. It was such an amazing placement. So I thought just for funsies, we could all watch Max's amazing placement on the word chills. And also, here, take a gander. Yes. Here we go. Listen, watch the vibrato. It's amazing placement. Also losing.
Hey, Zuko! Check this out.
What? Hey, Sandy. Wow, what a total. Wicked.
Tell me about it, stud.
I got chills that multiply. And I'm
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So very quickly, I'd like to say 3 things about that. That was at like 7 a.m. and I had a migraine and couldn't see. So that's a funny story. They had me in a closet a minute, like a dark closet, a minute before I had to go on for that. Also, oh no, I can't remember now.
But your vibrato survived. All right, we only have a minute left, but I've got to talk to Kerry for just a second. So, Kerry Butler, the brilliant Kerry Butler, star of Xanadu, now star of Disaster. And just for 1 second, talk to me about, by the way, when Kevin Chamberlin mentioned how sometimes you do a reading, you don't do the Broadway show. Did that ever happen to you, Kerry Butler, where you did a reading?
Yeah, 1 year, it was before Xanadu. I got offered to do readings of 5 big Broadway shows, and I was like, oh, I'm so popular, which one am I gonna choose? I was like Ariel and the Little Mermaid, Ellen Legally Blonde, The Wedding Singer, Xanadu.
Wow, 4.
I don't remember. La Paz Mirai? Maybe, no, La Paz Mirai was another time. But anyway, I think there was one more too. But, so anyway, cut to getting replaced in all of them.
Literally all of them. But then cut to, they came back. They came crawling back for Xanadu. She was amazing on the show. And Tony nominated. But for 2 seconds, amazing. But talk about when they asked you at the audition with the signature roller skating.
Oh, yeah, they said, oh, can you roller skate? And I was like, yeah. I used to go to roller skating birthday parties when I was little, so I didn't realize that they like wanted me to do tricks and things like that. And was it rude awakening? No, because as Seth knows, I'm like the most uncoordinated person in the world.
She's a singer, she's a singer actress who stands well. Continue.
And so I thought I was going to be fired like the whole entire...
Yeah, I'll be Chris Ashley. This is her after the show opened up, and I'll be Chris Ashley.
Oh, Chris, you know,
director.
It's so funny. I thought you were going to fire me for like the whole first few weeks of rehearsal.
Literally, there was no, of course not. Just silence and an uncomfortable smile. Okay, so before we sort of close up, just for fun, because I'm obsessed. Also, kids, you can go on after Heartbreak. Please talk about your Annie audition.
Oh, which one?
The movie.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I auditioned for the movie Annie, and one day, me and my family came home from school or whatever, and there was a message on the answering machine. Beep, yes, you've been cast as one of the orphans in the Annie movie.
Isn't that amazing?
So me and my family are screaming, jumping up and down. And then there was another message. Beep, please disregard that last message. We dialed the wrong number. 10 years old.
Okay, take that in. And on that note, we're gonna close with a little something you might recognize. Kerry Butler, it's not a disaster, but it's
Can I sing in the audience or no? There are no steps there? Is that okay with the camera? You know, I hate singing up on stage this song. What do you think, Seth? Can I get down, or is there... Oh, okay, I could go through here, okay.
His Don't let your